welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Scott Powell, President and Chief Executive Officer of Skyline Corporate Communications Group, LLC. On behalf of OTC Markets and Skyline Corporate Communications Group, we are very pleased that you have joined us for the Small Cap Growth Conference. The next presentation is from Alternative Ballistics Corporation. Please note that you may submit questions for the presenter at any time. You may also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Steve Luna, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Jason LeBlanc, Chief Operating Officer, and Ms. Vanessa Luna, Executive Vice President of Alternative Ballistics Corporation, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the ticker symbol ALBC. I would like to now turn the call over to Mr. Adam Holdsworth, Managing Director of Investor Relations with MZ Group, who will read the forward-looking statements. Adam?
Remind everyone that certain statements made during today's presentation may constitute forward-looking statements within the meaning of the federal securities laws. These statements are based on management's current expectations, estimates, forecasts, and projections, and involve a number of risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from those stated or implied. The company undertakes no obligation to update or revise any forward-looking statements after the date of this presentation, except as required by applicable law. For a complete discussion of risk and uncertainties, please refer to the company's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission. During the presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A box to ask any questions you have. We will do our best to get to all of them. With that, I'm pleased to turn the call over to Steve Luna, Chief Executive Officer of Alternative Ballistics Corporation. Steve, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Steve Luna, and I am the CEO of Alternative Ballistics Corporation. We are a public safety technology company that has developed a proprietary bullet capture system that is capable of converting a semi-automatic firearm into a less lethal weapon. We are currently trading on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol ALBC. Our company has two flagship products. The first is called the Alternative, which is designed for law enforcement. And the second is called the Home Defense, created for consumers focused on self-defense and home protection. We are targeting a market worth $9.6 billion that combines both law enforcement and the civilian self-defense. We maintain strong intellectual property protection domestically and internationally, with over 28 distribution partners spanning 48 countries with 73 active opportunities. Additionally, we have received an opinion from the ATF regarding the classification of our product. It is not considered a firearm, ammunition, or destructive device. This classification enables us to sell our product online through e-commerce and work directly with gun retailers. The U.S. Department of Commerce has classified the Alternative as EAR 99, which reduces compliance barriers for manufacturing, sales, and export. Our growth strategy is straightforward. We will continue to penetrate the law enforcement market, both domestically and internationally, while launching our consumer product to generate immediate revenue for the company. Now, I would like to show you a quick video demonstrating how our technology works.
Here's a standard weapon. The Alternative, within seconds, is easily mounted to the top of the weapon. There's no obstruction to the sight picture for the operator, and there's no obstruction to the functionality of the weapon or the rail system. It still allows an officer the ability to attach a flashlight on their weapon. Once the weapon is fired, the bullet travels down the barrel, embedding itself inside the alloy projectile with no chance of escaping, instantly becoming one solid unit. The projectile immediately separates from the weapon, as the docking unit is instantly ejected. Then, a new bullet is cycled in for follow-up shots if necessary. The Alternative is as accurate as the operator using it. Once the projectile impacts the threat, it will send a shockwave of pain to the suspect without the internal damage that a penetrating bullet would cause.
At Alternative Ballistics, we believe public safety is evolving. Agencies, communities, and consumers are looking for safer options that can reduce fatalities while protecting lives. Our technology was built for that exact reason. We are not simply creating another less lethal product. We are developing practical solutions designed to bridge a gap between compliance tools and lethal force. What makes this opportunity compelling is that we believe the market is moving towards accountability and looking for new technology that can reduce risk without sacrificing officer and civilian safety. I'm sure you've all seen on the news that law enforcement is facing a lot of public scrutiny. The public is demanding change, but the problem is that there are very few options available between verbal commands and lethal force. As shown here on the chart, a significant percentage of officer-involved fatalities did not involve a firearm. Many involved a subject with a knife, or in some cases, they were unarmed. Over $2.4 billion has been paid out in wrongful death settlements. We believe agencies are actively searching for safer tools that can help officers respond more effectively, especially when dealing with the subject in crisis or with mental health issues. The goal is always to preserve life. The alternative was designed to solve a very specific problem. Instead of requiring officers to transition to a completely separate less lethal platform, our system allows an officer to temporarily convert their weapon from lethal to less lethal within a matter of seconds. Let me explain how it works. In the middle, you have a holster, which is carried on the officer's duty belt, which means it is readily available. They don't have to retrieve it from the trunk of their vehicle or call it up to the scene. Then you have a docking unit that attaches to the firearm, converting it from lethal to less lethal. The one docking you see there is compatible with 70% of the firearms that law enforcement carries. Upon discharge, the live round is captured within the projectile, slowing it down by roughly 80%. It will travel downrange at 220 feet per second, hitting the subject with no penetration. After deployment, the docking system ejects automatically. A new round will cycle into the chamber for follow-up shots if needed, keeping the officer safe, in control, and always in the fight. Traditional less lethal tools each have strengths, but they also have limitations. In many real-world incidents, those tools may not be immediately available. They may require separate deployment platforms or may not be on the scene at all. What makes the alternative unique is that it integrates directly with the officer's existing firearm, allowing for immediate deployment without switching platforms. We believe this creates an important capability gap in critical incidents where time and distance matter. Just to be clear, our goal is not to replace existing tools. We believe they all have a place, but so does the alternative. While law enforcement remains a major opportunity for the company, we also are seeing enormous potential in the civilian self-defense market. The home defense was developed for consumers who want a less lethal first option for protecting themselves and their families without surrendering access to their firearm. It gives lawful gun owners a safer way to store their weapon, especially if they have kids. We believe many firearm owners are looking for safer alternatives that could potentially reduce liability and provide more flexibility during stress situations inside the home. We recognize the commercial market is 50 times larger than the law enforcement market, and we have an opportunity to penetrate it through e-commerce, retail, and gun ranges. We believe the consumer market is rapidly evolving. More civilians are looking for self-defense solutions that provide protection while reducing the risk associated with lethal encounters. We're also seeing increased awareness around legal liability, accidental shootings, and the desire to protect inside the home. At the same time, we recognize the demand for self-defense products. The market has been established by our competitors. We believe the home defense product is positioned to participate directly in that market as it continues to grow. What makes the home defense compelling is its dual capability. It provides consumers with a true less lethal first option while preserving access to lethal force. It is the only less lethal option on the market that protects the Second Amendment because you don't have to surrender your firearm. In most cases, as you know, if someone breaks into your home, they will most likely have a weapon. By using a separate platform other than your firearm, you could potentially put yourself and your family in danger. The product is designed to help reduce liability inside the home. It doesn't penetrate walls and could potentially reduce the legal and emotional consequences associated with lethal force encounters. With that, I will now turn the presentation over to our Chief Operations Officer, Jason LeBlanc.
Heard the company overview and the problem that our technology is solving across the law enforcement and home defense markets. I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing 3 areas that are critical to our long-term scalability. That is our growth strategy, our global partnerships, and the IP portfolio we've built around the technology. Since the product became market ready in late 2023, our team has spent the last couple of years traveling the US, meeting with departments, building relationships, and exhibiting at industry trade shows. Our objective has been straightforward: build awareness, establish operational viability within law enforcement, launch pilot programs, and ultimately drive market adoption. Today, we believe we are firmly in that pilot and validation phase. Since 2024, we've conducted demonstrations for approximately 30 departments across the US. We've launched pilot programs with 3 departments in Texas and certified roughly 40 officers through our training course. What this has created is a strong pipeline of potential end users who understand the technology, see the operational use case, and are now waiting for additional deployment data and traction in the field. At the same time, we've continued receiving inbound interest from international jurisdictions. Brazil became an early area of focus through key introductions made in 2023 with local partners. And expanding internationally was always part of our long-term strategy, but we wanted to ensure our intellectual property protections were in place before aggressively allocating resources abroad. In 2024, we expanded IP protection to 15 countries outside the United States. Once that foundation was established, we brought on our Chief Revenue Officer, Jags Gill, in March of 2025 to accelerate our international expansion efforts. Over the last year, we've engaged 28 global distribution partners representing 48 countries, and 21 of those partners have already received initial inventory and have begun making introductions to their local law enforcement agencies. Over the last 10 months, our team has traveled to 9 countries conducting official demonstrations and, in certain jurisdictions, officer training programs. We are at various stages of progress internationally, with traction currently being more advanced in countries such as Brazil, Ecuador, Australia, and Zambia. A significant portion of our use of proceeds is dedicated toward supporting these international initiatives, as well as the launch of our consumer platform, the Home Defense. As Steve mentioned earlier, we believe the civilian market may generate revenue more quickly, so we are highly focused on that launch while continuing to execute on both our domestic and international law enforcement strategy. When our team acquired the IP in 2020, the portfolio consisted of 4 issued US patents with no international protections in place. One of our earliest priorities was evaluating how to strengthen, expand, and modernize the IP strategy while simultaneously conducting our ballistic testing initiatives that began in mid-2021. We ultimately engaged Lynch LLP, a highly respected intellectual property firm, and by December of 2021, we filed a new US utility patent, which was subsequently issued and effectively restarted the timeline for international expansion. By the end of 2022, we completed direct filings in a couple of countries where we had early business activity, and we also filed our PCT application, which provided additional time and flexibility to determine which jurisdictions we wanted to pursue globally. Then in 2024, we completed filings across roughly a dozen additional countries prior to the deadline. At the same time, we pursued continuation applications in the United States. several of which have already been issued. These continuations are important because they allow us to continue expanding our patent family domestically and internationally as new inventions, product refinements, and design enhancements occur over time. So overall, we've taken a very deliberate and strategic approach to building the company, not only from a commercialization standpoint, but also from a defensibility and long-term enterprise value perspective. With that, I will turn it over to our chairman and EVP, Ms. Vanessa Luna.
Thank you, Jason. At the leadership level, we've intentionally built a team that blends public company experience with real-world law enforcement insight. On the capital market side, we bring a combined 40+ years experience across investor relations, strategy, and scaling public companies. Equally important, our law enforcement advisors bring 50+ years of field experience, which directly informs how the product is designed, deployed, and trained. From a governance standpoint, we've added proven leadership, including Bruce Culver, who helped guide Taser, now Axon, through its growth, and Kevin Faulkner, the former mayor of San Diego, who brings real public safety policy experience. So overall, this isn't just a technology story. It's a team that understands how to build, deploy, and scale in a market responsibly. From the market capture highlight standpoint, the opportunity is significant, but what's really important is how little share we actually need to build a meaningful business. In the US law enforcement segment alone, we're looking at roughly a 400 million less lethal ammo market, and we reach profitability at around 1% penetration. Globally, that expands to over 1.1 billion across law enforcement, military, and security, and that's where our international strategy really becomes very important. And on the consumer side, you're looking at over 50 million US handgun owners and a 19 billion global ammunition market, which really opens up a much broader, longer-term opportunity for us. So when we think about scale, this is not a winner-take-all scenario. Even modest adoption across these segments can truly drive meaningful revenue for the company. So as an investment summary, at a high level, we really see ourselves as differentiating the less lethal technology company positioned at the intersection of public safety and innovation. First, from our IP portfolio, including proprietary bullet capture technology, it really creates a defensible position in a category where there's no direct equivalent. Second, the team and the advisory group bring the experience needed to execute both operationally and in the public markets. Third, we have a multi-channel growth strategy, scaling through law enforcement globally while also entering the consumer market. And finally, from a capital market standpoint, our recent OTCQB listing is really just the beginning of a clear path toward broader visibility and a potential uplisting opportunity as we hit milestones. So when you really put it all together, we believe that we're building a company with a strong differentiation, real market demand, and multiple paths to scale. So we really appreciate your time and attendance, and I will now turn it over to Adam for the Q&A.
Thank you, Vanessa. We'll now turn to the Q&A, and we'll start with investor number one here. The question is, you have your first production underway for the home defense. When can consumers expect to actually get their hands on one, and what will it cost?
I'll take this one, team. We have initiated our first production order for the home defense and continue to make progress towards commercialization. Our focus is on ensuring that we have the right manufacturing, distribution, and training infrastructure in place to support a successful launch. While we have not yet announced final pricing or a commercial release date, we are encouraged by the interest we've established and will provide additional updates as we advance production and expand our go-to-market strategy.
Excellent. Next question, number two. You just announced 28 partners across 48 countries and 73 active opportunities. It's a lot of activity. What does an evaluation or demonstration actually turn into a sale, and where do you see the first international orders coming from?
I'll take that one. Doing demonstrations internationally is a lot like what we do in the US. There's going to be a process that they go through Internationally, some countries, some jurisdictions may need to classify the product before it can advance. But we've already made progress in some of those areas in Europe and South America where the product has been classified. And then, we're hoping that what we've established from a regulatory standpoint in the US is also lending towards making that classification an easier process internationally. But where we're seeing the initial interest, what I had mentioned in my part is a lot in South America, Brazil, Ecuador. We have some advanced progress there, as well as in some countries in Africa as well. But a lot of the activity that we're able to facilitate is through our partners that are on the ground. And a lot of our use of proceeds is going to go towards advancing those initiatives and getting our team out there where we can really build the relationships and advance all of our initiatives internationally.
Excellent. Thanks, Jason. Turning to question number 3, as demand builds, what does your supply chain and manufacturing capacity look like? Realistically, what unit volumes can the company support today? And what investments or milestones would be needed to scale meaningfully over the next 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So right now we have roughly 3,000 units in inventory. Our suppliers are very well equipped to scale upwards to 20,000 units per month. The product is 3 components. It's the dock, it's the projectile, and then it's the assembly process. We handle the assembly in-house. So we can scale pretty quickly, handling several thousand units per month.
Excellent, Jason. Turning to question number 4, what do the unit economics look like? How do they differ across segments, home defense and versus law enforcement?
I'll take that one too. We believe the home defense and the alternative have attractive economic characteristics and the potential to generate strong margins as we scale production and distribution. The home defense is a high volume consumer opportunity supported by e-commerce, retail channels, instructors, and training partners. The law enforcement market typically involves a longer sales cycle, but it can provide larger deployment opportunities along with recurring revenue from training, certifications, and replacement units. We will continue to monitor both markets, but I believe the consumer channel has the potential to drive broader adoption and faster revenue growth.
Excellent, Steve. Thank you. Turning to question number 5, congratulations to Vanessa on receiving the 2026 Swiss Army Award for Global Impact. What does this recognition mean to the team, and how does it reflect the broader mission you were trying to accomplish with alternative ballistics?
Thank you. It was a really pleasant surprise for myself and the team. And while I'm honored by the recognition, I really see it as a reflection of what our entire team is working to accomplish. The mission at Alternative Ballistics is really to provide an additional force option that's going to help reduce the likelihood of lethal outcomes. But the award really underscores the global relevance of that for me and the meaningful impact that we're trying to create. Ultimately, we're focused on building a company that delivers both social value and long-term shareholder value. So again, very excited, very grateful to have received the award on behalf of the entire team.
Excellent. Congratulations again. Question number 6. The company currently has 6 issued patents extended into 15 countries, creating a strong IP moat. Are there additional filings or next generation designs in the pipeline that could expand your SKU count and to support higher margin recurring revenue from projectiles and replenishment?
I'll take that one. Yes, we definitely have new design features in the pipeline, and each of those, based on utility or design, are going to be new patents that we're going to be able to file. And the continuation applications that we have in place in the US right now are going to make that possible to be able to expand that patent family.
Excellent. Thanks, Jason. Question number 7. With mental health related incidents in the public scrutiny of use of force, both rising. Have you seen any early signs that policymakers or large agencies are beginning to actively seek out proportional response tools like yours? And is your team positioning to capture that demand?
I'll take that one, team. Yeah, absolutely. The demand has been established. Departments right now are looking to change new policies as, when it pertains to use of force, right? There's a use of force continuum. Our technology essentially bridges the gap between verbal commands and lethal force. So getting the public to recognize what the technology is capable of doing, how we can help mitigate risk, it helps us really sustain the traction we're looking for as it pertains to getting into more departments and getting positive recognition, which in return is going to help us establish a track record, which will be successful deployments.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Question number 8. Several U.S. departments are already deploying the alternative, and you've been conducting demos and pilots in Texas and other regions. What feedback are you getting from officers in the field, and how close are some of these agencies to moving forward from pilot to full department rollout?
Jason, go ahead and take that one.
Yes, sir. So when we do demonstrations and departments are evaluating, very close to almost 100%, we get positive feedback from the demonstrations. The procurement process is the thing that takes a long time and creates a slow sales cycle. But the more we keep, essentially getting the product, building the awareness, and getting additional adoption, getting deployment, successful track records, we know that pipeline that we have of departments, roughly 30 departments that are standing by to just see additional, with a new technology, nobody wants to be first, but they also don't want to be last, is what we always say. So it's a matter of just, continuing to pound the zone, continuing to get out there doing the demonstrations. But the feedback that we get from officers who are assessing the product in demonstrations and officers who go through our training, most importantly, they go through the training and then we constantly hear, sorry about that. That was not me. But we constantly hear that, they fully understand the use case, the viability of the product once they go through our training. And we continue to be encouraged by that positive feedback that we're getting, both from the demonstrations and from the training, from an evaluation standpoint. And with adoption, we believe the sales cycle will shorten.
Thank you, Jason. The last question we have, number 9 here. Can you talk about how the Law Enforcement Advisory Board's 50+ years of experience is influencing your demo strategy and product roadmap as you move toward broader adoption?
That's a great question for me to take.
Okay.
Absolutely. So compiling first, even as an OTC company, we have a independent board, and we are really looking towards companies who have paved the way. We're not entering into a market where we are the ones having to pave the way. Companies like Taser, RAP, Byrna, it's a significant public safety market. And having advisors like Bruce Culver, who was the largest investor and assisted the company Taser through every stage of his growth, is critical. And we definitely utilize and look to those advisors on everything they did right, everything they did wrong, and how we can capitalize on every company that has been there before us. Like Steve mentioned, even in our presentation, we're not here to replace anything. We're here to provide additional tools. So we know there's a place for the alternative, and we're looking forward to introducing that globally throughout the market.
Excellent. Thank you, Vanessa. That concludes the Q&A portion of this call, and I will now pass it over to Steve for the last remarks, please.
And just before Steve goes into final remarks, I just want to mention that I do see a lot of questions coming through, a lot of which we would like to answer. So we do please encourage you to submit those questions so the company does have the ability to respond to them even outside of this presentation. Thank you.
Great.
Steve?
Thank you, guys. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us, and I want to thank you for your interest in alternative ballistics. We're very excited about the opportunity ahead and our mission to save lives. As Vanessa said, if we didn't get a chance to answer your questions, or if you'd like additional information about the company or to schedule a call, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Again, thank you for your time and have a great day. Appreciate it.